Welcome back everybody. In this video we're going to be looking at GB Studio Free. As you can see, it's just been released. It was released last night. If you don't know what GB Studio is, here's the too long didn't read of it. It's a visual game builder with no programming knowledge required. There's an example project so you can see how it's used and get started right away. You can make top-down games, platformers, point-and-click games, shoot-'em-ups. You can also make more than that. You just have to think outside the box. As you can see, GB Studio makes Game Boy games, Game Boy Color games. It now makes Super Game Boy games, and it can also export for analog pocket devices. You can also build a HTML5 version that you can upload to itch, and it is awesome. So, as you can see here, there are some changes that some people will really be happy about. As you can see, you can use bigger sprites now, and as you can see, the sprite sheet, they have like an animation thing, and also a music timeline, so you can actually make music inside GB Studio now. There are also parallax backgrounds. You can see here, this background is set up to be parallax. You see 3 layers here, and if I was to press play, you could see how it moves. You can see we're already in this scene, and the elephant is there. The parallax backgrounds are fantastic. They'll be awesome for racing games. Let's see what else we have. Yeah, this elephant is fantastic. As you can see, there is some sprite glitches here when we jump here, and that's probably because of the limitations still of GB Studio having like 5 as the max, or 6 maybe. It might have updated and had more, but yeah, there's still some graphical glitches that you'll have to work with as you work with GB Studio, which is completely fine. So let's get moving. You see, I'm in the Sprites tab, and then we're looking at the elephant over here. And as you can see, there's animations and there's idle. And this is now a state machine, I think. This is what in Unity you would be called a state machine, where you can trigger different animations rather than set a new sprite sheet, which is a fantastic way of doing it, and it should actually be better for us as developers to create with this. As you can see, it's now using 8x16 sprites all bunched together. And as you can see, I think it knows if a piece is the same as it was in the previous frame, meaning that you're not overusing the amount of frames. And you see here, it can actually be animated. So that is fantastic. And this will obviously need to be tested by us. I haven't done any work with this yet, but obviously looking at it, it looks fantastic. And it also having these animations here. Let's try and find the player. Yeah, here we go. So when we're moving right, we have a different animation than if we're jumping right. And when we're climbing, it's a different animation, and there we go. So that is all in this sprite. So it seems like we actually have some more tools as developers to make our life easier as we develop, and also mean that GB Studio's limitations aren't as bad, because as you can see here, we're only using 4 tiles, unique 17. Well, if we were to actually do this in GB Studio 2, we would probably be, over this limit, maybe even to over the 24 limit as well, which is fantastic. So we now look at the music. Okay, so here we are in the music. As you can see, they now have a piano roll that shows the notes. I will say that I'm not sure how this this works here yet, but it should be pretty easy to just trial and error, figure out, and then I'll make a tutorial for you guys. But yeah, this is a major update that people will be very happy about. A lot of people in my comments were, hoping that there would be an easier way to make music. If you press here, this is how we were making music before. This is a tracker. As you can see, each note, each instrument, and then each effect. And arguably, this is a fine way of making music, but I can completely understand people's frustration with it. It just doesn't make sense by looking at it. So hopefully this will be a lot easier to work with. Okay, so I'm just jumping into the docs, and they have been updated for GB Studio 3. So if we have a look at migration guide, you can see what it would take to take your project that's in GB Studio 2 into 3, okay? And reading over this, I do think it will take some time to both familiarize yourself with 3.0 and to get your project to work correctly as intended in 3.0. So I wouldn't migrate it over straight away. I would first mess around with some of these things specifically. In each type of game mode, there are now different sprites you can automatically set. So before, we'd have to set a sprite at the start of a scene, and that would also that would mean that it would take up sprites basically that you didn't want to take up by having the player already as something. So this should be a way of decreasing sprites as you change from scene to scene, which is fantastic. If we also keep going in this settings thing, we can also see some more stuff that they've added, right? So you see the default background palettes. I think it now has 8. If I go back to the game world quick, if I click on a level, you see there are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Before there were only 6, and so that means they've added 2. They've also now got a sprite palette thing, which I think was invisible before. We couldn't actually see this, and it was implied that you could have as many sprite palettes as you like, which I'm not sure if it actually worked or not. But this is now very clear, and it means you can easily switch your actors and sprites palettes around more easily and make sure that you're not overworking the system. We jump back into the settings. Yes, it now has Super GB mode. So obviously, if you click this, then it will ask you for the default palette. I'm not sure exactly what this means yet, but it also creates a border image when you first run it for you to copy and paste, and it will use it as the background image when you're using a Super Game Boy, which was fantastic. Before, it would auto-generate it. I think it was some random thing that it always generates on a normal game, Game Boy cartridge. But it's fantastic to have that now. Oh yes, font width. So if you use purple in your text font now, it actually cuts off some of the text in order to fit more text onto the screen, into the text box at once, which is fantastic. The music driver, you can switch back to the previous driver that would let you use your music from the previous games, which is fantastic. You can now switch the jump button very easily. You see this, and it just switches it. The run button as well, you can just swap that. Interact button, that is fantastic. You can change that. And then it also has added climb velocity. Everything else I think was there before, but climb velocity means that you can climb at a different speed, I guess. I think it didn't have scroll speed before in the shoot 'em up, so that is fantastic that is there. Interact button in the top-down 2D, fantastic. Obviously, this was always there. You can just add extra things, which is fantastic. And it actually has batteryless saving now, I think, so that is fantastic. And I think that's everything you can see here, but there is one extra thing that you guys will be very, very happy about. So if I press save, data save, then you can see now there are 3 slots. We have 3 slots to choose from, which is absolutely awesome. It means we can have a game like Mario where there are different tubes to go down that mean that it's a different save game. And this means you can have 3 different people playing on the game at once, which is awesome. It also means if your game is set up for replayability or like achievements, or maybe a game that has multiple endings, you could have each ending on each slot, right? Where the player plays through it once, they don't delete that save, and they keep going in a different save to get a different ending, which is awesome. So I'm just looking as well, and it looks like we have link events, so we can join, host, close, and transfer. And I haven't heard anything about this yet, so it might not work yet. But that is awesome that they are trying to add that in, a join, host, and close of a link. So hopefully that does mean the link cable will be useful, and that will be absolutely awesome. And one of my patrons asked about the attack script, and I think it's now been put into the launch projectile, and you can just set its lifetime here. So if you were to make something that would just attack, right in front, then you just set it to 0.1 and it would just go at a very short distance. While if you were to set it at maybe like 0.1 maybe, or I haven't actually tried this obviously, but if you set it to 1, maybe it would go out, free from the player or something. This obviously needs testing, but this is obviously the very beginning of how you would figure out how to do the item attack rather than the which was from GB Studio 2, but this is obviously how you would do it in GB Studio 3. So I hope that helped, and I hope you enjoy that. I'll make sure that I'm making tutorials specifically focused on GB Studio 3 from this point on. If there's anything you guys need in GB Studio 2, I can obviously go back. I am using it for my freelance project still, as migrating over to GB Studio 3 will cause some headaches, unfortunately. But for now, I think that is everything. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you're excited to get your teeth sunk into GB Studio 3. And let me know what you find. There might be some extra stuff like that link cable that we haven't heard about yet. You can download this at itch.io. If you type in GB Studio, then it will have the download here. You can probably do it for Windows with no installer. That's what I've got, and then you just hit the GB Studio application, and then it will just load up, and then you can choose the sample scene like I did and get exactly this. So I'll put my patrons up on screen right now. Thank you so much to you guys, and thank you to, I think it was Pixel Maker, for suggesting to look for the item attack thing. I hope that answered your question, and remember to like the video if you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, comment on what you want to see next, and what you think of GB Studio 3 so far, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.